Hey, what's going on, everyone? Matthew from therighttrader.com back today with another daily crypto update. We're seeing a bit of a pullback after yesterday's run up. I'm personally not too concerned about this. We did get a pretty extreme move over the last few days towards the upside, so we're getting a little bit of a slowdown here. But like I said, as long as these cryptos stay above their newfound support levels, which I will be talking about in more detail during our technical analysis, I don't think there's any reason for concern just now. I still think that we're going to be heading higher in the short term, and I'll explain that in more detail, like I said, in just a second. But overall, over the past 24 hours, slight drop, right? A lot of cryptocurrencies down around 3 to 4%. Some are actually still holding up well, like EOS and a couple others. But overall, cryptos did need a bit of a breather after the big run up, it seems like. Now, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for live cryptocurrency market updates. Once again, not that much news here. The market is just doing its own thing, and the price is following the path that it needs to on its own, pretty much. So right now, we did face for Bitcoin specifically quite a bit of resistance at $7,100. We did have some previous areas of resistance there, so that's why we struggled a bit. And I'll go ahead and draw in a resistance level there just to make things a little bit more clear. But basically, we have a hammer candlestick over here, so the price is still holding up pretty well. What I wanted to point out is we are still uptrending on the indicators. We could start to pull back just a little bit more, right? Maybe go back down to 6,800 Satoshis just to close this little gap here after the breakout. You have to keep in mind that is pretty common, right? Is closing the gap after we get a breakout. So it would be logical to test $6,800 in the next few days. Could we drop even lower? Yes, I think that at the very worst, we'll go back down to $6,500. But in the short term, I'm expecting a little bit of a pullback down to $6,800, and hopefully that will be enough to give more strength to then push it back up to $7,500, where I do think we'll get some resistance. But that's the next level that I want Bitcoin to test, and I think that has a good chance of doing so in the next 2 to 3 weeks at the most. So still pretty bullish here. Now let's go ahead, take a look at Ethereum, see what's going on. Ethereum is trying to get out of its downtrend line, still struggling with that a little bit. We are also starting to see some consolidation on the Bollinger Bands. So the indicators are still looking pretty strong, but it seems like we may end up reaching the end of this triangle formation closer to $277 before we get our breakout above the downtrend line. As soon as that happens, right, that's pretty much a clear confirmation that we're not going to be heading below $273 again. So I'm definitely looking forward to that and hope it happens. And if we do, right, I think we'll be able to move relatively quickly up to $361. So got to keep an eye on breaking out of that downtrend line, and we don't want to move below $273. That's the bottom line for Litecoin. Now let's go ahead and take a look, sorry, for Ethereum. Let's go ahead and take a look at Litecoin now. Litecoin is also, trying to get to its downtrend line, trying to get out of that. The indicators did get a very nice V-shaped bounce, and right now it's once again a matter of, are we going to be able to break out of this downtrend line in the next few days, or are we going to end up pulling back and maybe even heading back down to our support level in the end of our triangle formation at around $45? We'll have to see what happens, but if we start to see that we're falling lower again, it just increases the likelihood that we're going to reach the end of the triangle formation. I think that another possibility that we could get here is just a drop maybe to our support level at $53, and then break out of the downtrend line at that point. That also creates a triangle formation. That's a little bit sooner that we'll reach that. So that's also a pretty decent likelihood, I think. Let's go ahead and take a look at Nano, see what's going on. Nano is one of the altcoins that got a massive run up recently, and as you can see, it is pulling back after this pretty extreme move. Now, as for the indicators, also falling back, basically, taking that breather. And this is a pretty typical example of, a breakout and then testing our breakout area, which in this case was 40,000 Satoshis. So we broke above that, and we didn't actually come and test it yet. So that's what we're doing right here on this candlestick, is coming, closing that gap, testing that breakout area to then move higher from there. So that's what I think is going to happen, and we might be a little bit flat over the next few days, but as soon as we test this uptrend line, I really think that we'll be ready to move up to 67,000 Satoshis within the next month, I believe. There's a likelihood of that, or at least a very good possibility. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ripple, see what's going on. So we're going to hop over to the Binance chart here, and Ripple is still acting pretty flat, so no major moves towards the upside or downside, which is kind of a good thing in my opinion. It's really just stabilizing here, and it's not showing any type of exaggerated moves, which is a good thing because then it avoid getting a big drop after a run up, for example. So basically, it's taking its time, still consolidating nicely and holding up nicely above 30 cents, and you can see that more or less on the indicators. So I think that it's just waiting for getting ready to then make that move to 40 cents, hopefully above. As soon as we do that, we're in a much safer area again where we don't really have to worry about any kind of bigger drop anymore. Let's go ahead, take a look at Neo, see what's going on. We're going to go over to the Bittrex chart here once again, and Neo did make its way back to $20. We are pulling back from there. Also had a lot of resistance due to the upper Bollinger Band in that area. And as for the indicators, still not looking bad. Think we might get a pullback down to maybe even $15 here at the most, somewhere around $15 to $17. Overall, though, not too concerned about it. As long as we're above $13, we're still okay here for Neo. We could get a test of $13, however, if the market is going to get a bit of a bigger pullback here. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next crypto, which is going to be EOS. Like I said, EOS was actually one of the cryptos that was doing good over the last 24 hours. So let's see what's going on with the chart specifically here today. And for that, we're going to take a look at the Binance chart. So right now, we are getting a very powerful bounce off our uptrend line. It's actually been 3 days now. Great green candlesticks, great increasing buying volume. Nice little breakout on the indicators, especially on that RSI, which we actually got to move above 40, which was a pretty major resistance level on the RSI. So that's a really bullish sign. And, we're coming up on 9,300 Satoshis. That is a resistance level. So maybe we'll start to slow down from there. Overall, though, I really think that basically, since we're now in the symmetrical triangle formation between these two yellow trend lines, I think that the next area we're heading next is 9,100 Satoshis. That's the end of the symmetrical triangle formation. And who knows, if we're bullish enough, maybe we'll even break out of that earlier than expected. For now, though, I expect, a little bit of up and down, a little bit of consolidation, and then start heading towards that end of the symmetrical triangle formation. Let's go ahead and take a look at stellar lumens, see what's going on. Now, stellar lumens need to go over to the Binance chart for this, where my previous lines are drawn out. But as you can see, it is also in a symmetrical triangle formation. The end of that formation is actually pretty far out, around mid-November. So still not 100% clear what's going to happen in the very short term for stellar. I hope that we can stay above our uptrend line and above 3,000 Satoshis. That's important as far as just, making sure that we're not going to get a big drop here. But if we're able to stay above that, then it doesn't really matter if we bounce up and down. We're just in the path of this range. And as long as we can stay in that, that's what counts. Indicators also flattening out, moving a little bit lower. So I have to be careful here with stellar. It's not acting the strongest. Definitely a little bit weak over the past couple days, but not all hope is lost. As long as we're above the uptrend line, like I said, there isn't really a major reason for concern. Let's go ahead, take a look at our next crypto, which is going to be Lisk. And Lisk is holding up surprisingly well here, considering that it was one of the altcoins that was doing really bad. It then got a really big run up, and now we're holding up nicely above $4.71, stabilizing right above that level. I think that we're going to probably continue to do so. If we get a drop, maybe pull back down to $4, get a bounce off that. So either way here, I'm not too concerned about Lisk. I think that it already got, most of the downside out of the way. So anything from here on out will be pretty minimal and controlled. Let's take a look at Cardano, see what's going on. We're going to take a look at the Bittrex chart. Now, Cardano actually dodged a bigger drop down to 1,254 Satoshis by breaking out of its downtrend line. 3 green candlesticks, good buying volume, also broke out of our resistance line on the 40 area on the RSI. MACD histogram picking back up. So a lot of bullish signals are facing some resistance due to the middle band over here. But overall, I think that over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should be able to start moving a little bit higher here, hopefully closer to 1,700 Satoshis. Let's go ahead, take a look at Iota, see what's going on. So Iota is currently getting its first candlestick after the recent run-up here. Well, quite a bit of selling volume, but you have to keep in mind we got a pretty major run-up with a lot of buying volume. So things kind of balance each other out there. As for the indicators, looking good on the RSI, got a breakout above the 50 line. And I think that we might make a move a little bit higher, up to 90 cents. But overall, since we did pretty much complete this recovery, we may need to consolidate just a bit and slow things down. As soon as we're above 90 cents, that's when I think we're pretty much in the safe zone as far as avoiding a bigger type of drop. If we start to move lower again, and maybe if we start to move below 57 satoshis, or maybe below 50 satoshis, then it becomes very likely that we test 33 cents again. And sorry, these are cents, not satoshis. With that being said, this is the end of this daily crypto update. Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you next time.